For more than a century, Australians have had a love affair with chocolate. On average, we each eat 6 kilos of the stuff every year, putting us in the top 10 chocolate-eating nations. And our appetite for the sweet treat is growing every year. I'm here in the Royal Botanic Gardens in Sydney to meet the Director of Horticulture in a new exhibition space open to the public. And the first exhibition is all about chocolate. Why did you choose chocolate?
Well, I was trying to come up with an idea for what do I do to talk about science and conservation in a conservatory in a greenhouse. My usual creative process is go home, turn on some music, pop up on the couch, eat something, and that day it was chocolate, which is most days. And I'm eating away and looking at my fingers and thinking, what do I talk about? What do I talk about? Do we talk about orchids? Do we talk about flowers? Do we... Chocolate. Chocolate is the story. Chocolate's 5,000 years of history. It's the rainforest wrapped up in a chocolate bar.
Where does chocolate grow? It
grows only within 10 degrees north or south of the equator. So the equator is the belt around the middle of the globe. So only just at small tips, only a few countries that actually touch around that area. Australia is one of them. We can grow chocolate in the northern Queensland area. So you don't think about it, but that area is also, chocolate was the perfect story, but it's all the things that add to it. The rainforest is also the home of vanilla and spices and Brazil nuts and cashews and nutmeg. 80% of our food crops originated in the rainforest. So that's an amazing story. 2/3 of the world's plant life lives in the rainforest.
2/3?
2/3. 1/3 of our biodiversity of animals live in the rainforest. So you just think about that little bitty belt around the middle. It's kind of like your pants belt. The belt falls off, it all falls off. So that belt is the most probably biodiverse region. It's the cradle of life. It's probably one of the most important areas of our whole planet.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this amazing plant?
Well, chocolate is a really cool plant. First of all, the name, Theobroma cacao. Theobroma is Latin for food of the gods.
Yeah, theo, that's a Greek word.
God, theology. This is a food that people worship even to today. But amazing thing to me is these little tiny flowers that actually bloom on the trunk of the tree. And it's pollinated by little midges and ants and aphids and thrips, and then produces this giant fruit. There's multiple cultivars and varieties actually found across the world, depending on where you're at. And this one's actually Criollo. Differences are in the flavor and the size of the fruit and the color, no different than picking a different variety of apple.
So what farming methods have you replicated here?
Well, instead of the typical historical, more common method of growing chocolate in rows and actually in a very cleared plantation, we've gone back to what is actually becoming the new way of growing chocolate. It's actually growing under the canopy of rainforest trees in conjunction with other food crops. So think banana trees, vanilla vines growing, coconut palms, which we have here. But most importantly, the soil is happier, which means the little midge that lives in the soil most of the year and then actually flies up here and pollinates that little tiny flower. You get more midges. You get more midges, you get more chocolate, you get more chocolate, you get more money, and you don't have to cut as much rainforest down.
What plants have you selected for this section of your rainforest?
Well, this rainforest, we actually recreated in Amazonia, a South American rainforest, because that's where chocolate's from. The rainforest is all about stratification. It's the different layers of the trees and the ground covers and the bushes. This particular vine, this beautiful fleshy leaf vine, is vanilla. It's an ingredient of chocolate, but also if you grow vanilla outside of the South American rainforest where it's native to, you have to hand pollinate it. Why is vanilla so expensive? Think about your 8-hour day doing this, basically pollinated 1,000 flowers.
So vines are a really big part of the rainforest.
Absolutely. Vines are actually one of those structural components of the rainforest. They're opportunists. They're actually there to fill in the gaps as soon as the sun comes through and a tree falls over. This one's Fittonia, and it's actually the giant Fittonia, Fittonia gigantea. And if you actually look at most houseplants we actually grow in their house, I guarantee you almost every one of them is from the rainforest. Because why? They grow in deep shade because, sitting there beside your lounge and your TV is about the only light they get. But this one's huge leaves, grows at the bottom of the canopy. Rainforests across the whole globe are actually under threat. Right now, they estimate about 80,000 hectares per day are lost. That's up about 60 hectares per minute. My hope with the exhibit is, by the time you get through with it, you might have learned a little bit about the rainforest, a little bit about chocolate, a little bit about what we do as a science organization. But most importantly, the next time you go to the grocery store and reach up and buy a bar of chocolate, you might turn around to the back and look at it and go, Yeah, this one actually helps the planet just a little bit. Maybe I'll pay an extra 50 cents for it. So make a little bit of a difference.